and welcome to the Research Labs podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was a fun conversation to talk to you for the first time. I'm glad that a thing like ADP list exists, and and since then I've been trying to talk about ADP list with a lot of people that they should try it out.
Yeah, it's been a bit of an experience with ADP List, meeting lots of interesting people, but I've definitely enjoyed it. It's solidified my thinking with product for sure.
Like what was the time when you first got to understand? Okay, this is what product is, and this is how it's made, and I would like to kind of spend my life trying to build better ones.
Sure. How did I get into product? I fell into product by actually trying to get into UX design. So, and the reason why I wanted to get into UX design is because I liked not only solving users' problems, but I just like helping people. Like that's my natural motivation throughout my whole career. Even before starting university, I know that I enjoyed helping people and making people's lives better. So through university, I discovered UX, and it's basically helping people. I thought this is fantastic. I fell in love with design. I just went deep into design, and then throughout my career, I tried to pull myself into being a designer, but I found myself in generalist type roles at early sort of startups. Did the whole agency thing, and then went to a company which was just starting the B2C digital transformation. They just needed a generalist. So while I was working at this company, I was setting myself up to be a UX designer, and unfortunately, I fell into product. It just happened. Uh, what happened was I was taking on a lot more responsibility. When I was creating initiatives and creating my designs, I was really business focused as well, just to making sure we were building the right things in the right way for the business and developing the really good relationships with the developers as well. um, I naturally progressed into the product owner role. That's what happened when the company moved to agile. And so from there, I discovered product management, and I thought to myself, well, have I missed the UX boat here? Because I hadn't really practiced much of the visual design stuff, even though I could do UX design in the forms of the user research and information architecture. And I was doing these pretty cool research based problems or doing design sprints. So I was familiar in that sort of problem solving space, the discovery space. But yeah, didn't have the visual design sort of chops. So I went for the product management, and I'm glad I did. We get to fall in love with juicy problems, and and it's a whole other sort of kettle of fish that I really enjoy.
Do you kind of feel at times that there are these very random events that kind of happen, and you just keep on taking the next steps, and when you look back, it's kind of magical how you ended up where you are right now.
Yes, there are definitely those opportunities that do seem serendipitous. Being in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people. So yeah, I'm a firm believer in that the what's that saying? Half of the success is showing up. So yeah, so I do believe that. My When I was talking about that company where I tried to do, well, they needed the generalist, and that I tried to set myself up as a designer. Um, I was really comfortable in that agency type position, and I really stepped out of my comfort zone to apply for that position. Um, it definitely seemed like a position where I was underqualified for. So having the courage to step up and interview and believing in myself, um, that was probably the best step and best decision that I made. It wasn't about the study or having the knowledge. It was just having the courage to actually step outside the comfort zone in order to take that sort of position. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
And I also think like these are two very different worlds. Like working as a product person in an agency where clients come and go, and working on like a product company that owns the product in itself, and that is the core business.
Oh, 100%. 100%. No chalk and cheese. I'll never go back to agency side. It's because the thing I like about product is that you can keep working on it, you can keep refining it, and you ultimately end up solving the user's problems. Whereas on the agency side, you are serving the client, so you're solving the client's problems, or you're selling the client what they think that they need. So the way that you go about the business is completely different. I mean, that was my experience. I know not every agency is like that, and some consulting firms have really good relationships and are retainers, and it's different for them. But that was my experience in agency, where I felt so removed from the user that I didn't feel satisfied, and and at the end of the day, it's more about making sure cash flow is coming in. It's quite you get quite of like an anxious sort of tension in that sort of environment.
So, what do you think change? What is like the biggest psychological change when you work on a team that kind of owns the product, which is where you are right now?
Yes, it's very very different. So it's you get a sense of accomplishment, and when you celebrate success, like when you actually do solve a customer's problem, you can see that metric move. You feel like you have actually achieved something, and it's a team experience. Everyone pitches in to do their job, so you feel it's a little bit more camaraderie that you've come together and that you've accomplished the thing that you set out to do. Uh, so that's probably the biggest difference. Uh, on the agency side, if you have a celebration, you probably landed a big contract, and it's about making money. So it's quite different.
And also, for example, when you are trying to build a product, what kind of a difference is there between an agency and like a big company, or a company that kind of builds its own product? Like what I am trying to get into is like the specific strategies. Like we did discuss, in an agency you build for the clients, and in a product team you build for the customer. But like how does that affect like the day-to-day activities of the team and the thinking side of it?
Well, when you're building for the user directly, you have to get to know the user. So discovery becomes a large part of the day to day. Making sure you're doing user interviews, making sure you're looking at the user feedback. You have to develop that product intuition to make sure you really understand the customer. And it's more about looking at the opportunities for the customers and working as a team to address the opportunities. Yeah, I really love Teresa Torres' way of framing an opportunity as it's again user focused, identifying the user's needs, desires, and pain points, and it just comes down to that.
Yeah. I started reading the book after your recommendation, Continuous Discovery Habits. Yeah, yeah. It was very good. Yeah, she divides the entire process into two parts: discovery and delivery, and she kind of emphasizes that most of the teams are only optimizing for delivery, and discovery is just done like once or twice in the cycle. And she's like, that's the best way to waste money, and that was very powerful.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm really glad at Clipchamp we have a pretty good discovery practice where we're encouraged to constantly be doing user interviews, constantly doing those discoveries. So we're touching users on a daily basis, whether it's a user interview or some other method.
So I did check out Clipchamp, right? I would say it's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. Like if you have ever used any other video editing software, you will learn that this is easier.
we we do get that a lot.
Yeah. Also like the UI of it is very welcoming, very friendly. So is are this like very conscious decisions that the team makes to make it that way, or it's like a result of a coincidence maybe?
Definitely not coincidence. So when we started out making a video editor, it was early days. I wasn't here, but I do know that it was about simplifying the experience and doing something different. We know that there's a lot of professional tools out there, and we don't want to become a professional tool. We want to develop a tool that is easy to use um, for a different common use case. We want to make it so that people who have tried professional tools before and they use us, they realize, yes, this is a lot more easy to use, exactly like your experience there. We also want to make it so that someone who hasn't tried video editing can open us up and it is intuitive and create that first video for the very first time and have a good experience.
So when you're trying to develop a video editor, what are the, let's say, high level problems that you are trying to solve for the end user, especially in today's day and age where video is becoming, I would say, the mode of communication.
Yes, it's a good question. I mean, the obvious things that come to your mind is actually the video editing itself. So you think about the features like trimming or speeding up or extracting audio. But one of the most difficult parts about solving the video creation process is right at the very beginning. It's learning how to create video, and it's also there's an inspiration gap as well. What sort of video do I need to create? Because a lot of people, before they create their very first video, they will have some sort of need to create a video. For example, it could be a small business and they need to market themselves online. First thing they will do is probably jump on YouTube or TikTok and start looking at their competitors and what videos that they make. And so then they'll go through this process where they it's almost like shopping, where they're kicking the tires. They want to see what sort of video that they like. So that is they're getting inspired. So they're trying to figure out what type of video they want to create. And then the other half of that is how do I actually create that thing? Like now I've found out the video I want to create. What do I need to do? What content do I need? What footage do I need to take? What tools do I need? Do I need equipment? There's a huge big knowledge gap that needs to be solved. So when you think about those two things, the inspiration gap and the knowledge gap or skill gap, um, how do we address that within the platform itself so they don't have to go off to YouTube and they don't have to go to TikTok to learn how to do these things? Um, that's definitely a challenge that we're looking at solving, both on the mobile app as well as the desktop experience.
And do you think the templates really help with that?
That's a start. Where they do address some of that. So they address both. They're trying to they're trying to solve both of those issues, where a template might be able to give them inspiration, they might give them the style that they want, or it might fill out some of the contents and transitions and bits like that. But we do see an opportunity where we can take it a lot further to really help them at least structure the video in a right way. It doesn't have to be a template that helps them structure, but then also helps them teach them to to make that right sort of recording, do the right takes. Yeah, at least extracting the right bits of their recording that they've already created.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So templates. So you're saying templates is just the beginning of that effort,
yes,
and it
yeah,
goes deeper than that. Could you elaborate on that? Like
yeah,
how do you go
sure.
deeper?
So some of the things that we're looking at doing in order to improve recordings or improve the quality of the output, um, we're starting to explore machine learning and AI, just to see if to push the boundaries, and this is where we sort of leverage Microsoft's R&D's capabilities. So to do things like gap removal and when I say gap removal, it's like it's if I make a recording, there could be some gaps beforehand or afterwards or in the middle, or I could say something wrong, uh, or and there's an opportunity so that the AI can automatically remove those things, and then I don't have to learn how to trim as a end user, and it's less effort to create the video, and you get a higher quality output. They're the two of the things that we're looking to optimize for as well.
In a way, you guys are looking at like even like the small things that a video editor does on a day-to-day basis, and also optimize for that.
Yes. So the small things, yeah, like trimming, for example. It's to save time. Yeah, yeah. There's other things as well. You could have a transcription, a transcript showing up where if you want to read off the transcript, some people like to do that if they have to make a bit of a monologue speech. So we could make it. One of the challenges with a transcript is that you could have a lot of text and it needs to scroll at the right, speed, or the user has to sort of click. So why not make it so that it automatically detects what you're saying, so that when you're reading off the transcript, it switches itself. And while you're at it, if you make a mistake, why can't we just say, oh, uh, you have some sort of keyword that automatically removes the error. So you could say, oh, scrap that, and then the editor would automatically know to delete the previous part of the keyword that you just mentioned. There's a couple of other things uh, like that we're sort of exploring as well.
So when you are exploring this particular problems, right? Like this is a category of problems you're trying to explore. I would, in my head, this category is optimizing the workflow of the video editor. So to do the same, do you interview professional editors who have been doing this for a long time and try to understand, what problems they're facing or what activities they're repeating multiple times, but they're so used to it, they don't even think about it.
Yes, we have interviewed a couple of professional editors to understand the real way that you're supposed to edit, because none of us actually are video editors, so we don't know. And it is interesting to hear that to watch the methods that they use in order to trim precisely, very quickly and easily. For example, um, we can only get so much insight from watching that sort of behavior. What we're better off doing is spending the time and watching a first time user try and do it and seeing how they struggle, and then coming up with opportunities in order to make that first time experience better.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
There's eh, not only the first time user, but there's other opportunities as well to improve specific users that we're targeting when they're doing specific actions.
I was thinking about Clipchamp, and I was also thinking about Canva because Canva kind of did that for graphic design over the last, I would say, 5 7 years. And there is this very interesting trend which I have noticed is that once Canva became slightly popular, now when you look at a graphic online, you kind of can tell that this is a
You
Canva
can tell
template.
it's Canva, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting that they have that style or set of styles which a lot of people have used. And I think that they're trying to transition away from that. But one of the attractions to Canva is the content that comes with the package. I mean, obviously, it's an amazing tool and it's so easy to create amazing graphics. They've definitely nailed the low effort, high quality output that, that we're going after as well. But when you pay for Canva, all the additions that you get is the content, is the styles. Yes. Yeah, so it's definitely something we've got our own content team. It's definitely something that they're focusing on as well. They see that the the big potential in having the right sort of content for the right sort of people to keep them inside Clipchamp. So yeah, you're right. We definitely see a lot of parallels between Canva and Clipchamp as well. It's a similar space, the sort of the creative space.
Hmm. So, when you think about an app like Clipchamp, right, there are so many directions you can take the app into. Like, you can do the templates mode, you can do the design systems mode, you can optimize the backend processing of it more. So, when the user is actually using it online, it's smoother. Like what I'm trying to get to is there are so many things to work on. So how does that decision making process look like because I mean at the end of the day, right, there are only so many people who are working on it. We cannot do everything at once. So how does that decision making process look like?
How do we prioritize? It's funny you almost touched on all the main parts that we are focusing on. So you're absolutely correct. Speed of performance is huge, and because our client runs on client side, the app runs within the browser, it is susceptible to the end users machine speed. Things like export time, something we're constantly working to improve, and the things like how smooth it runs within the browser. We see that as never-ending, gains to be made, where we always want performance improvements. So there's a team dedicated to that. Like I mentioned before, one of the other things that we're focused on is the low effort, high quality. So it's from the user point of view. Uh, and we're exploring that through machine learning and AI. But then we're also going back to basics with UX. So what are the opportunities for us to simplify the product even further so that it is even more intuitive? We think that there is still a lot to go until we can make something extremely easy to use for very first users. You look at some of the video editors out there, and they've got some amazing paradigms where you can edit video simply by editing the text with the transcript, uh, which is which is really interesting space. And there's other ones as well where you can um, easily put together a video without the multi-track timeline, where you have a scene-based editor, which is also very interesting. Uh, so there's opportunities where we may borrow some of these other paradigms and bring them into Clipchamp so that um, it's super easy to use for basic editing for the people who simply need basic editing, but then it still addresses the use for creators who want to have a little bit more flair and bring their creativity so they could create something special once they've gotten more used to the tool. It's a delicate balance, but it's one of the things that we think we're trying to strive for. I don't think that actually answers your question about prioritization, but essentially, yeah. I think I addressed a couple of the areas that we're looking at focusing. One of the other things that's a focus for us at the moment is obviously integrating into Microsoft with the recent acquisition. So a fair bit of the effort is going into sort of Microsoft activities as well.
Hmm. So when you say integration, so one thing which I'm already using is that it's already on my laptop without me ever installing it. So that's
Yes.
one part of the integration. I can
Yes,
already
you're
see like
using
an edit.
Windows 11, is that right?
Yeah, I have both on two laptops, 10 and 11.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
on
so it
it's
comes
on both now.
pre-installed. Yep.
Yeah. And there is also an edit button in the Photos app now, so it can directly take you to
Yes.
Clipchamp. So
Yes.
what other things are included in the integration apart from that?
So we're looking to integrate more into the M365 systems at the moment. So I can't talk too much detail, but we see a big opportunity for the enterprise side, where Clipchamp could be bundled with other systems. So we can so there's a lot of integrations in the back end to meet a lot of the compliance, uh, which comes with corporate enterprise type system packages, so that we meet a lot of the privacy regulations. We have that, robust security, and and so that we can fit within other sort of back end systems within Microsoft as well.
So it's more like you will get Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Clipchamp.
Um, Potentially, yeah. I think we're still working through that.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, Microsoft is a productivity company, and videos we see as the next step in productivity. So, a really good way to think about it is way back in the day, I'm talking like the 60s and the 70s, uh, most people didn't type their own documents. They had a secretary or someone else on the typewriter doing their word processing for them until uh, regular PCs came about, personal computers, and had your own word processor. And so that removed the secretary, and then along came PowerPoint, which removed the need for slides that you had to sort of print out. So projectors sort of changed PowerPoint, and Excel changed a lot of old school calculators. And so it's a trend that it's constantly progressing, and Microsoft are really good at being on top of the curve, or at least acquiring companies that are right there. So when you look at this sort of progression, one of the most um, recent examples of this is Canva. I mean, before Canva, you had to have your graphic designer to do graphics for you. So now everyone can do it themselves. And if you want to create video today, a lot of people are still going to a videographer to create that higher polished video. So we do see video as that next bit where everyone, all the information workers, can create their own video without using any sort of professional assistance at all. So the mission is essentially to democratize video.
So this is something I was thinking. Like for example, we did talk about uh, an app that take text. You can edit the text and it will edit the video. And you just mentioned that people don't hire graphic designers anymore; they do it on Canva. So do you guys think about a feature where you can simply write down whatever I want to write down in Clipchamp, like a message or a piece of communication? I select the category of communication. Is this a formal document? Is this a casual document? What is it? And Clipchamp just takes in my text input and gives me like an animated video out of
It it sounds pretty crazy, but um, the future is coming pretty quickly, and we know there's companies doing this at the moment. It's pretty amazing where you can actually edit video with text commands. Uh, I forget what they're called. I was watching them. There's a couple of them out recently, but there's this example where you can change the color of people's hair, or you could just type in the word sweater, and then suddenly the sweater is highlighted, and you can replace it with the keyframes. Um, so it's not so crazy. It could be a possibility of the future. We have something like that, and you wouldn't even need to type in the commands. You could just do voice commands.
it. So it's like I can just type down a happy birthday message and select a theme, and a video is ready on happy birthday or whatever I wrote. Do you think
Yeah,
that is
yeah. Or I
already
could,
possible?
yeah. I mean, you could do. There's the examples where you can do that right now with creating graphics. Um, what's the name of that company that you can do that at the moment? Dali, Dali. You
Dali,
can do that
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yes, yes. And I believe there are video solutions to that as well. We can just magically create the animation or the video just by a couple of commands. But like I said before, there's other ones where you can manipulate an existing video. So, for example, the video view right now, I could type in remove microphone and it just goes. So there's a lot of possibilities.
So I would say now I would like to go deeper into product management and like the day to day of product management in Clipchamp particularly. Could you share few details as to, so we did discuss about the couple of books we last time, like continuous discovery habits and the lean product. How does, let's say, your team go about implementing those practices? Is it very rigid in nature, or it's very asynchronous, it's very chill, and now you kind of have your processes set up?
The the process at Clipchamp does vary from team to team, but we do get together and share knowledge and come up with a good general practice with all the product managers at Clipchamp. And constantly, we all have adopted the growth mindset. We're constantly on this journey for improving our process, particularly when it comes to something like discovery or sharing feedback. And I can give you a recent example. The Teresa Torres book, Continuous Discovery Habits. I read that earlier in the year. Absolutely loved it. I shared it with the team, and we have all now have opportunity solution trees, which comes from the book, and we've brought in a lot of the practices that that do happen in the book. Um, but not every team follows everything religiously. Like we have opportunity solution trees, which we can share. We can see what where each other team are working on and the opportunities that they're trying to tackle. But um, some of the other practices in that book, for example, the assumption mapping, that's something that I absolutely love in my team, and I are doing that religiously. I've got baked into my process, but I don't think the other teams are following it exactly. They have other processes, and they're tackled slightly differently as well, where they're trying to tackle slightly different problems, maybe more technical problems with less discovery. So it's not as relevant sometimes, and that might be the reason why they haven't adopted it.
And is there a lot of emphasis on data, as in analytics data, as to how the product is doing, what are the growth matrices, and
Yeah, 100%. Data is huge. So, particularly in some teams, when you think about the editor team, the core editing experience, our growth marketers who are on top of the data, they're critical. Constantly doing tests. It could be, A/B tests, or constantly looking at the insights to look for opportunities for improvement. Um, so, yes, very data strong at Clipchamp. Again, it depends on the team. So the example of the editor team, they need to be strong because more, it's a core experience of the product, and a mo- small part of the small change can make a huge difference. Something like the mobile team at the moment, which is a little bit more experimental. We're still very much in discovery, qualitative type feedback at the moment. And because we have a fairly low user base, um, the data is important, but not as critical as some of the other teams.
for the mobile team, basically?
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So you guys are coming out with an app, or there is already an app? I'm not aware.
yeah. So there is an app. It's free. It's available for iPhone at the moment, iOS, but it's still early on. So we're still trying to figure out how best to position the app within the market. I'm not sure if you're aware, but if you type in video editor on the App Store at the moment, there's a lot of options, a lot of free options. It's a con- I don't know if you know the term of the red market. I mean, sorry, red ocean and blue ocean. Yeah, so it is the definition of red ocean space at the moment. But it's funny because with video editing, everyone has a camera in their pocket. You know, everyone's taking video. Everyone has videos in their pocket. It's it's almost where everyone starts to create the video experience, and we definitely see a video app within Clipchamp in the future. It's just how best to position that. Do Are we best positioned to have another video editor in everyone's pocket in the mobile app, which can handle project sync with the desktop, or is there an opportunity for something else? So they're the things we're exploring at the moment.
So, we discussed about things that are already thought about. Could you also share about, maybe if you're aware about it, the optimization bit of it? In a sense that you mentioned that all the processing happens on the user's computer. I was not aware about that. I actually thought it happens on the cloud.
Yeah, yeah. So I I believe we may be the only product in the market, from what I'm aware of. I could be wrong. That does most of the processing on the front end. A lot of the other web solutions do the back end processing, and there are pros and cons to either. Um, but yes, it's a lot on the front end, and it does mean that we are reliant on a lot of the capabilities of the browser itself. So we're not supported by every browser simply because not every browser supports all the various codecs and compressions, engines, and all the rest of it. So we are slightly limited in that regard. But it's amazing what improvements we've made recently in the browser, and we've still got a lot more improvements to go. For the example, like I mentioned before, export takes quite a long time when you compare it to a native application. Um, but the guys are working on it, and we're making big gains in that space.
Yeah, when you say export, right, I would say most of the laptop purchase decisions by video editors are made to make sure that the export time is reduced.
Yes. Yeah, and it's one of the things. If your project is in the cloud, and export can happen very fast because obviously it's been handled by super fast computers, in some sort of data center. But the challenge is then you still have to download the final export, so it can be reliant on your internet speed.
So the processing will not take time, but the downloading will take time.
Yeah, and then there's the upload as well with that situation with that model. So before you can edit, you have to sit there waiting. Whereas in Clipchamp, you drag the video across and it takes 1 or 2 seconds for you to start editing straight away. It's quite a nice experience.
But so there will be no version of Clipchamp where, like for example, I believe last time we discussed you're integrating with OneDrive. So if the files are already on OneDrive, wouldn't it make sense to just process everything on the cloud?
Yes, it's not as simple as that. So um, there are definitely merits to doing processing on the server side, and it's something that we may explore. I mean, I'll give you an example. There are there are solutions out there, and there's a need for some users to be able to create multiple videos with slightly different variations. For example, a personalized video that a salesperson may want to make. So the salesperson can do a little bit of a spiel, and then um, have some sort of text go over the top, which is personalized for, could be hundreds of different people that, yeah, they could upload from with a CSV. That sort of processing would usually need to happen on the cloud. So there's definitely merits for it. And um, now that we're embedded in a huge tech company like Microsoft with lots of resources, particularly cloud resources, with its own cloud platform, Azure, it does open us up to opportunities to explore other avenues like that. So 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 it is something that we're looking into actually. Yeah.
So, okay, this essentially you guys are building a new technology, right? So, are there like hard technical problems that kind of keeps everyone up at night? We're not really sure how we're gonna solve that. You know.
Yes. Yes, there are. Yeah, particularly when I was mentioning before, the talking between something like the phone and the desktop, to be able to open up the same project on both, that's very technically challenging to be able to do that. They have to have it's the interoperability so that both devices can interpret data the same way and render data the same way. It's extremely difficult, particularly when we want to build a system which can support other platforms as well. I mean, there's a possibility of something like Xbox that Clipchamp could run on, and so we'd want a project on Xbox to be able to open up on desktop or mobile, and maybe some other, um, maybe like a low end PC, for example, like we could get onto like server side, um, computing as well. Um, that might be another um, platform where we'd still need to interpret and be able to render some sort of product. So that's one of the big technical challenges. There are obviously many, um, particularly when we're sort of integrated with Microsoft, and thinking about how video can work across the like Microsoft ecosystem and all the different sort of products. There's different ways on that we want to make sure that the right data is maintained. There's Microsoft products, for example, like the streaming platform called Stream, which streams video. It's got its own um, data method of storing transcriptions and chapters. And so it makes sense if you're watching a video on stream that you may want to edit that video in Clipchamp. So how do we retain that data when it comes over to Clipchamp? That's just one example. How do we retain it so that we get the thumbnail and the chapters and the transcription, and they can edit it, then put it back onto stream, and then it's all sort of retained.
So I was also thinking about the server side of things, as in I was just thinking, okay, do I need to download the video, right? And a lot of the use cases today, especially in the social media age, is to not download the video, but simply send it to some other platform, maybe YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, where I'm trying to post it. And I also saw that I think you guys have a TikTok integration. It will directly send the video to TikTok.
Yes. Yeah.
So so for that particular use case, don't you think a server side app will make a lot of sense? Because I don't need to download the video at all. I just need to edit the video and just send it across to all the social media platforms.
Yeah, it goes from cloud to cloud instead of your local computer up to the cloud. Yeah, I mean it saves an upload. It's probably faster. Um, there's merits to it, but as I mentioned before, there's also downsides to that whole experience. You still need to upload your initial assets before going into the editing experience.
Yeah, I'm getting I don't know, this is very exciting that you get to, think about these things on a daily basis.
There's definitely some challenges.
I think we also discussed about how TikTok has nailed the experience for the user. They have made it extremely easy. It would be very helpful if Clipchamp had a feed where users can directly share a video on.
Yeah, so we do. We're envious of TikTok, to be honest. I mean, the whole consumption platform and editing platform, um, they have created an amazing product, and it's completely understandable why it's taken off, right? Everyone's using TikTok. Yeah. So one of the challenges that Clipchamp has is that it goes back to what I was saying before. One of the problems that we have is the inspiration problem, where people go off to YouTube or TikTok to find out what sort of video they want to create. The benefit of having the inspiration platform in your platform, for example, the consumption feed in TikTok, is that it's all contained within the same ecosystem. That's one of the things we're extremely envious about. How do we make it so that users can be inspired inside Clipchamp? And we don't want to create those inspiration videos. We want them created by users so that there's a vast array of content that can generate ideas and that you can easily remix or recreate. Yeah, it's something pretty special that TikTok have created. So yes, it's something that we've been thinking about, and now that we've been acquired by Microsoft, is there? What we've been asking the question: is there some feed or some mechanism where we can take advantage of um, Microsoft, something in the Microsoft ecosystem, some sort of channel where we can maybe support user-generated content?
Yeah. So, apart from the feed, there are also like two different aspects of products like Clipchamp that we see a lot. One of them is community, where users can, constantly build out templates to help other users. And the second one, I would say, is more of like integrations and widgets, where there are companies who are, building micro apps for the service. So do you also see?
Yeah, yeah, it's a typical platform model where yeah, you have either users on one side generating the content, which can be utilized by the other users, or you have third-party services, yeah, developing widgets or plugins, which can be utilized by users. Um, that I believe that was something we are exploring in the early days, um, but not so much anymore. We see bigger potential elsewhere in the whole platform model. Hmm. I mean, there's merit to that, but I think just in the video space, it makes more sense to think of other challenges for growth. I think there's just other opportunities for growth rather than exploring the sort of the platform model.
So there are other things which will yield more results or outcomes in going forward.
Yeah, so I mean, the whole consumption feed, that would be a huge mechanism to drive growth if we can somehow find a fit in Clipchamp. Um, if we can't, it's probably more a matter of um, integrating and optimizing for for the for the Microsoft channel. I mean, Microsoft touches over 1 billion people, so it's massive. The reach is huge. So we might be better off thinking how can we tap in to some of these other products or channels so that we can leverage this growth opportunity.
Yeah, this is a very different perspective, right? I think you are like the only video editing app in the ecosystem right now, in the Microsoft ecosystem.
Right now, yes, yeah. So there was previously I forget what it was called, Video Editor, Microsoft Video Editor. Yeah, which came bundled with older versions of Windows, but not in Windows 11, where the video editor.
So how do you navigate that? Do you think that's a lot of responsibility?
It is, and to be honest, we are constantly asked by other products and services within Microsoft to help with their video editing needs. It's still so early on the days, but yeah, we do. The problem is there's so many different jobs to be done with video. There's small bits like trimming or cropping which a lot of different services need. So the question is, should Clipchamp own that experience? Should it be the same throughout? Should we develop SDKs or some plugins so that other services can use the Clipchamp trimming experience or the Clipchamp cropping experience? And then if we did utilize some sort of plugin or create some sort of plugin so that other Microsoft services could use it, is there an opportunity to then drive that traffic to Clipchamp if they need more advanced editing? Um, it's similar to the Photos app that you mentioned before. We're getting a lot of users from the Photos app now. So yeah, there are broader philosophical discussions and questions that we're asking at the moment.
Yeah, I was thinking like a Clipchamp button in the PowerPoint application.
Yes, PowerPoint's an interesting one. They've got a fair bit of video editing capabilities and recording capabilities at the moment. So who should own the video recording, experience? Because we have one in Clipchamp where you can record the screen and yourself, and you can do that in PowerPoint. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we're talking about. It's still very early days. Who knows what's going to happen in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4 years?
I would like to, ask this one question before we end. So, for example, if someone is trying to get into product and it's the early days, then I would say the story that you shared, that you were interested in solving problems, and then you got introduced to UI UX, and then eventually you moved into ownership, and then you were like, oh my god, product management is what I'm what I'll fit in. And I would say most of the people are very early in that process, and you talk to a lot of product managers and realize this is kind of everyone's story. This is what happened to them. So do you think there are ways to kind of accelerate, not accelerate per se, but like to figure out what you are really good at early on, so you can build skills accordingly?
Hmm, that's a good question. How do you find out what you're actually good at and what you're passionate about? I mean, I found out early on that I loved helping people from working in call centers, to be honest. Straight out of school, I didn't go to university. I was working in a normal call center, and the people that I could actually help gave me such fulfillment. It was worthwhile all the people that were screaming at me because I couldn't help them. you know, it's what kept me going, and it gave me that gratitude. And that's how I found out myself that that's something I really enjoyed, and that I held on to that, and that was my core belief, and that helped me navigate my way through my my own passion. Um, Obviously, I was drawn to tech. I have been ever since a teenager. If we were visiting someone's house that had a computer, that was it. That was me for the next couple of hours on the computer. So I knew that I was always drawn to tech, and so it was easier for me to then navigate through tech as a career path as well. So those two things helped me. And then earlier on in my career, I was loving visual aspects of design. So that was probably the third thing that led me towards that sort of UX career. And then I've already explained how UX then morphed into product management. So I think it just takes self-reflecting, and you just have to be aware of yourself and your own sort of strengths and the things that you're naturally interested in. One of the other things that I've self-reflected on and realized that helped me um, realize that I was good at product was that as a, I have a natural inquisitive nature as well. I'm always want to learn about things or know things. Just how I talk to people, constantly looking at Wikipedia articles or Googling things. That's just in my nature as well. And that really helped me decide that, products are a right course for me as well. Because um, if you just have to have that natural inquisitive mindset in order to want to solve problems. Why? Why are users doing that? You know, it's a question that I'm always asking if you're looking at some sort of recording or a metric. Why do users drop off here? That's really interesting. Constantly asking that question, wanting to find out, wanting to discover more.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah, that I think the other thing I mentioned it quickly before, but having a growth mindset is critical as well. In product management, you always want to be learning and being better at the craft, so that you can. Um, so it helps you eventually be a product manager, which helps you eventually solve more users' problems.
Do you guys discuss podcasting?
Podcasting, yeah, it's definitely come up. I mean, any type of video use case that we see, we talk about. I mean, there's literally hundreds of them. You know, small business, gaming. There's like the casual TikTok creators. There's more information workers, screenshot, all those different types of videos that people make. We talk about, and we have talked about podcasting, and there's definitely uh, products out there that are specifically for podcasters. So it's quite hard for us to think about, oh, we can own that space. But we have come across podcasters using our product as well. So perhaps there's some minor things, improvements that we can make to help them get, do their video needs, address their video needs, so that they're retained in the system. Yeah. Why is there a feature that you'd like us to implement?
Yeah. So the app we're using right now, that's more of a recording app, and then down everything, and take it somewhere else, and then do the editing there, and then it's the audio app to do the voice there. So quite an elaborate workflow to get this whole episode out there.
Right. So you see an opportunity in the podcast recording space.
Podcast recording, edit. Like, think about it this way. Right now, I have to record at a different place and then edit at a different place, then post at a different place. If there was like a single workflow to do the whole thing.
I see. I see. So maybe it's a integration opportunity where Clipchamp could integrate with podcast services such as the one that we're using now. And so once it's finished, it's straight. It's the project's there in Clipchamp, ready for you to edit, ready for you to export. Maybe.
Well, I would say that was nice talking to you. It was fun.
Thanks for the conversation, Prathamesh. Anytime. I'm thrilled to be joined and invited on the show.